Okay, so over the weekend, I finally finished Final Fantasy IX, and if you read the title of the video, you know I'm actually not about to talk about Final Fantasy IX, because there's another game that I finished as well. Starting on Thursday, Clay and I just kind of binge played Celeste, which both of us had already played before. So it was a replay, but I've been wanting to talk about the game here on this channel for a while, and so the fact that we just replayed it was like, well, that's serendipitous. Now that it's fresh enough, I can actually really take some notes on it and just talk about it and why I love it so much. Spoiler alert, it's gonna get a great review. Spoiler alert, Celeste is one of 3 games that I would consider my favorite of all time. One of which, if you watch the Trails videos, you know is Trails in the Sky, specifically second chapter. One of which is Persona 5, specifically Royal. It's like, I love Vanilla 5 as well, but Royal just made the gameplay so much more fun, and it's just so much more, like, bonkers, the shit I could do in it. It was like, this is quite possibly the most fun I've ever had in a video game. And the other is Celeste. I I love this game so much that I literally have a special edition that I cannot play. This is it. Battleline on the back. Battleline and Madeline. This is actually for, I don't know if it says, yes, it is, if you can read it on the disc, it is for the PC. I don't have disk drives on any of the computers I have. I really wanted to get a version of this for the Switch or like for the PS4, but I think those versions were out when I learned that this special edition exists, so kind of got screwed there, but I wanted it for the shelf. It also came with this poster here in the corner of Celeste Mountain. This was the box, and it also comes with a little strawberry, and I love it. This has a very good place on my shelf. Absolutely adore it. I know, right now I'm just going through like my kind of general notes before I get into the actual review stuff. What I really love about this game, the reason I would say it's one of my favorite games, is it's a very personal and cathartic experience. Like, I was talking with Clay about it yesterday, and he's like, so, is this game kind of like comfort food for you? I'm like, I wouldn't say comfort. It does not make me feel comfortable playing this game, talking about anxiety and depression and your own worst enemy being yourself. And the game is also really stressful with its gameplay, so it's not comforting, but it is cathartic. I feel good. I feel better when I'm playing the game. Even if I'm in a good mood, I'm just like, yeah, all right, let me just continue playing. I just feel good. Like, when I get into that zone, because there's times when I'm playing and I'm like, all right, like, I'm just playing like garbage. Like, I'm inputting my dashes wrong, I'm jumping at the wrong time, because a lot of the things, whether it's to progress genuine progression through the level or just finding side stuff, a lot of the timing can be really tight. And there's times where I'm just like, I am missing it consistently, I am so terrible. And then there's moments where I'm like, I am unstoppable. Like, I have activated Ultra Instinct. I'm just zipping and zapping through the whole thing. I'm doing all kinds of crazy wall jumps. Like, oh my goodness. I'm getting into the flow of the game. It's like, Soul. That's the Pixar movie that I absolutely love. Which doesn't say much because I really love most Pixar's movies. But they have The Zone, which is like, this is what like an athlete or a creator is like in their element and in their best. I'm like, yeah, I've experienced that playing Celeste. I have also not experienced that playing Celeste. But when I am in that moment, it is just so satisfying to be able to do all this crazy shit, especially if there's like that one level or that one strawberry, which I've never 100% of the game. I don't think I ever will. But when there's that one thing, like, I am doing this one. Because there's some where I'm like, I'll give this one like an attempt or two, but I don't feel like I really have to do this challenge. And then there'll be that one where like, no, I'm doing this one. For whatever reason, that loud sound was my cat. Where you're like, I'm doing this one. And then when you get it, and even when you don't, but you just feel like you're getting so much closer every time, like, I know what I have to do. It just comes down to execution. And I am going to pull this off. And it's so fucking good when you do. I love this game. Like, I love what this game does to me. Yeah, and the reason we had started playing it was, I think I mentioned this in my like year in review videos. I just did not have a good day on Thursday. Again, not anything crazy. It's like no one around me died. I didn't lose my job or anything like that. It was just one minor annoying thing after another minor annoying thing. And I was just getting neurotic. I was getting frustrated. I was feeling really, really down on myself. And, excuse me. And sometime in the evening, after I'm off work, Clay was off all week, he just boots up Celeste. And we had actually been talking about it, I think the previous week, maybe even sometime earlier in the week. It's like, yeah, that's one of our favorite games, maybe we should replay it sometime. And he just kind of boots it up without saying anything. And I immediately just kind of looked at it, I was like, he knows what this game does to me. He can tell I am having a genuinely awful day, and he is booting this up just to make me feel better. I'm not going to say anything, at least not right now, but it's really appreciated. And we played through the first 3 levels, I believe, because we got through the hotel. I love the hotel. But, like, we got through the hotel, and he's like, all right, I think this is a good place to call it for the night. If we keep playing, we keep playing. If we don't, we don't. And after I was like, all right, I gotta know. Did you do that just to cheer me up? Yes, I did. I was like, all right, come here, son of a bitch. Like, I gotta give you a hug. Like, I needed that. I didn't realize how much I needed that, but I really, really did. And it was sincerely appreciated. So, sorry, I just noticed at that point, the video was like 6 minutes and like 6 minutes, like 49 seconds. And I think our final time on the playthrough was like 6 hours, 49 minutes. Like, that was actually kind of perfect. And we also had 1,200 deaths. It was like 1,200, I don't know. It was like 69 or like 03, which are 2 very different numbers. I just remember the 1,200 be like, damn, we died a lot. We're so ass. By the end, we had like 2 hearts. We had 2 of the gems from the summit reach and 104 strawberries, I think. So like a lot were missed, but still a lot were, I almost said gained, then I almost said gotten, and I was like, gotten, that doesn't sound, that does not sound correct. But a good time was had by all, and by all, I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but I can certainly speak for myself. But this is supposed to be a review, or I talk about the actual game, and like its prez, and it's how it plays, and its narrative, and not just, this is why it makes me feel good. So let's actually get into the presentation. The sprite work and the character designs, I like it. Are they the best sprites I've ever seen? No, because I've seen Super Metroid, I've seen Trails in the Sky, I've seen Final Fantasy VI. Those to me is like, that is like the best sprite work. This is really good. Like, I still like it. I really like the character designs. Look at Madeline. She is precious. Look at that coat. I love this big poofy coat. And if you've seen the Trails videos, you know, what do I like in character designs? I like jackets and I like coats. I don't know why. That appeals to me. You got a game with a lot of nice jackets or big poofy coats. Everyone's got good character design. You've also got Theo and his big-ass scruffy beard. I like those too. This game is great. Everyone looks great. The colors, I love them. Like, just looking at the backgrounds and it's not like the backgrounds have like a lot of detail going on in them or anything. I just love looking at the colors. Like, it's just so pretty to me. Yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about the visuals. The game does not have voice acting. It has, like, Banjo-Kazooie acting. I don't think it's quite as charming, because Banjo-Kazooie is the best shit. With the I love that shit. I love how everyone in Banjo-Kazooie has their own unique, weird sound effect that they use when they talk. Celeste doesn't quite do that. No, they kind of do. I don't feel like it's as notable. But they do sound a little bit, and then there's times you can actually kind of hear inflections. I really noticed it with Battleline. Like, I felt like the sound when she talks, when she's feeling a lot more anxious or scared of something, the sound does sound different. I do like it. I don't think it's annoying by any means, but like I said, I don't think it's as charming as other games that have done it, but I think it's still good. And then we get to what I consider the best part of the presentation, and that's its soundtrack. Another thing that came with the special edition was like a code to download the full soundtrack of the game, so I have the OST, and I love it. There's just so many times while playing the game where I was like, this is such a good sounding song. Like, I am feeling so emotional right now, and I know there's like emotional, like sweet emotional shit happening on screen, and it's also just hearing this music just hits me in a certain way, and it's all really good, and I just kind of feel these goosebumps. Like, it's a lot of the times, even when the music is more kind of like intense and anxiety inducing, there's times where like it can just motivate me, there's times where I feel really uncomfortable, and then there's times where it just feels like I'm getting a nice warm hug. It's like I was talking about in Trails in the Sky. I'm like, the music in this game, it's not just, this is a good song and I like it when it plays. It really, like, hits me in a certain way. Exhale, the song when, like, during the credits, is beautiful. I love it. I was tearing up a bit during the credits. And I was like, yeah, this song just does it for me. It's because, like, I can hear the song without playing the game and think it's just a very nice, soothing song. But hearing it after finally climbing that mountain and getting to the summit, it really does hit different. Speaking of which, Reach for the Summit is my favorite song in the game. It is what plays during the final climb in the mountain, where after Madeline falls and she confronts Battleline, and they essentially speed run through the entire game, get back to where they were, and then go through the top. It's so good. It's so hype. I listen to that a lot. I listen to it a lot when I work out. It is phenomenal. It is one of my favorite songs in any video game. Essentially, it's the final boss music. Well, I mean, there's really only one boss, and that's Battleline, and I really like that theme too. But just kind of, like, the mountain is kind of its own boss, and then just doing that final run of levels, like, it's so good, and it's so satisfying, and the music is so good. You're gonna hear me say that a lot. This is kind of gonna be like Cold Steel 2, where this is a review of the game, where I talk about the stuff that worked and the stuff that didn't, but it's essentially me gushing about how much I love it. The presentation is a 6 out of 5. I feel like if it wasn't for how much the music hits me, it would just be like a normal 5 out of 5. Like, I have no problems with this. It is good, it gets the job done. But the music to me is so good and hits me so well, consistently, and has one of my favorite pieces of music in a video game. It kind of has to break the scale. So, with that said, we move on to the gameplay. So the basic gameplay of Celeste, it is a platformer. It is, you have a jump button, and you are trying to get from one end of the screen to the other. Sometimes you are going across, sometimes you are going up, sometimes you go up, diagonal, across, loop-de-loop, through some weird shit, go onto a block, to, like, you have to hit, there's a lot of weird gimmicks and shit. But the basic things that you can do is jump, dash, wall jump, and cling to walls. You get one dash, it resets once you hit the ground, although later in the game you get a second dash. Your wall clinging, you can do for a while, but eventually you will run out of strength and just slip. But if you stand on a platform, it resets. There are some additional things that can reset your dash, like there's these little gems. Hit one, it resets. If you land on an enemy, which there's not a whole lot of those in the game, but if you do land on an enemy, it will reset your dash. If you are wall jumping between walls, that does not use your grip strength. So that is something you can find yourself doing pretty frequently, is like, okay, I can use my thing to, like, climb the wall, but I don't want to do that because my strength is a little low, or I'm going to need that a little later, so let me just kind of wall jump for a second, or like, let me climb until I can start jumping. I really like it's very simple, but the way that these mechanics get used and kind of the clever ways I can be like, okay, how do I actually want to approach this problem? I really, really like. And then on top of that, so there's a lot of collectibles in this game. There are strawberries. There's strawberries with wings, like the plushie, which is so regular strawberries is you collect it, and it does not actually count as you getting it until you hit the ground. Some strawberries are even, yeah, it's not just hit the ground, actually go back to the start of this area, which it's generally like one screen. Sometimes it can be like a couple screens, but it's generally nothing too crazy. But most strawberries are either hit the ground or, okay, you got to the end of that thing, now it counts. If it has a wing on it, it means get to it without dashing, because once you dash, it will start flying. And sometimes that's part of it too, is you can genuinely get to the strawberry without dashing, or it's you can only get to a certain point, and then you have to time your dash, so that way, like, you will actually grab it as it's going up. Really clever shit, and I love it. There's crystal hearts, which are, I believe it is one per area, and you kind of have to do, I only got like 2 of them. You kind of have to go out of your way to get them and like figure out the weird shit to do to grab them. There's the B-sides, because yeah, it's like a cassette tape, where it's a secret area in the level, and then you have to do like a special platforming challenge, but if you do it, you essentially get an alternate version of the level. And I know if you do the B-sides, you can find C-sides, which I think gives you another alternate version of the level. I didn't get all the tapes. I think I got most of them. I think there was like 1 or 2 we didn't grab in this playthrough. I think there's also a golden strawberry, which is complete the area without dying, which I'm not going to get. I am nowhere near good enough at the game to even attempt that shit. But hey, to anyone who has, good on you, man. That's all of my respect. Holy crap. All of these collectibles are 100% optional. And which I feel like is something kind of alluded to, like they're really out of the way. It technically affects the ending because Madeline bakes a pie at the end. It's like, oh yeah, a strawberry pie with all the strawberries she's collected, and the more you have, the bigger the pie is. But that's it. It doesn't really affect anything else. Like every time you get one, it's like 1,000, like your score went up, but it's not like it's constantly displaying your score. You have infinite lives, so it's not like you need to collect a certain amount to get lives or else like everything resets. It is literally just, they're here if you want them. If you want to challenge yourself and grab these, go for it. They are here for you to do so. If you don't want to, don't do it. There is no judgment. Zero, literally no bullshit. If you don't want to because that's not what your journey is about, it's not what your journey is about, have at you. And I love that. But on top of that, there are a lot of gimmicks. There will be like, all right, here's a cloud you can bounce on, and you have to time the bounce right so you can go really high. And then there's a pink cloud where it's the same thing, but it immediately disappears, so you need to get the timing down. There are some blocks that you either like cling to or stand on, and you have to hold a certain direction, and you'll just kind of keep going in that direction until you hit a wall. There are some blocks where they have these like cat faces on them, and you have to dash into them, and then depending on which direction you dash into, they will go in that direction. Well, it's kind of like the opposite. Like you dash down and it goes up. You dash to the left and then it goes to the right. There's some blocks that are stagnant, but once you dash, they move, and so you kind of have to time your dashes right to get onto them, and then also use like the momentum to propel yourself. There's a lot of momentum puzzles in this game, and I'm normally really, really, really bad at momentum puzzles. I don't know why. I'm just trash at them, and yeah, so like when it comes to like the bouncing on the pink clouds, I hate those. I am so freaking bad at that. And then some of the block puzzles I did not like. I was like, I just don't really care for this one mechanic in the game. But then the dash blocks I think are super duper fun. And then you've got like the feather where you'll just kind of be like flying and manipulating around the world. I'm like, that's super fun. And then when you get to the like red orbs that you go into them, and then you hit a direction, and then you go in that direction, and then you have to dash out of them, and depending on like the way that screen is constructed, you can have to do some really cool, crazy bullshit, and it's so fun and satisfying when you pull it off. It's so good. So the levels are fun. As you can tell by what I'm saying, like that's literally what the next note was. Yeah, like the levels are fun, and generally speaking, I felt myself getting better at the game. Like when I was first playing it, I was like, yeah, I definitely have not played this in a long time. Because I think we played it in it was 2019. I believe no, it was 2020. Was it? I actually can't remember now. I believe it was the start of 2019 or the start of 2020. So it's been 2 to 3 years. So I was definitely rusty, but as the game was going, I was like, okay, I'm definitely getting more into the groove. I can feel myself getting better. And then there would be those sections where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just playing like dog shit. I am awful. I am terrible. Why am I doing this? But then you get through it. And then you kind of get back into that vibe and that feel like nothing can stop you. And there's kind of nothing like that feeling. What I sincerely love about this game's gameplay is not just how creative it can be with its level design and like where like the crazy shit you've got to do to get the strawberry or progress. It's not just how genuinely fun it is. It's how the gameplay serves the theme. Again, kind of like when I was talking about Trails in the Sky, of how I love how hard the game was in my playthrough, although I hated it because it wasn't fun to play, but it made my journey more meaningful. Kind of something similar with Celeste. To me, the theme of this game is, I mean, look at the poster. We all have our mountains. Whether it is an obstacle in your way, whether it is a goal you want to achieve, we all have these mountains that we need to climb. And our climb is however we want to approach it. We can do it and just go straight for the goal, straight for the exit, and not worry about any of the side shit. We can take the slow route and make sure we get everything on the side and make it just the fullest adventure possible. You can do it by yourself, but sometimes we need support and you can call on a friend to help you. Sometimes we like the challenge of, like even Madeline says in the story, she's like, I kind of want to do this because it's hard. And sometimes that's it. Like you want to do this challenge, you want to climb this mountain because it is hard and it's difficult. But other times, like you just kind of need something easy that you can just take care of. Because I believe there is literally an option where you can make the game easier. I think you can actually turn off some of the hazards and the things that can hurt you. And a lot of times I look at that and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's just like the easy mode. That's the baby mode. But this is one game where it doesn't bother me. Now, I have not used it, but I do look at that. I'm like, it feels like it serves the theme. There is no judgment. Your climb is your own. If someone else climbed the mountain differently, that's perfectly fine. That was their climb. That was their adventure. This one's yours. Do it however you need to do it. And there's something really beautiful about that. Now, I can't give it a perfect score in terms of gameplay as much as I want to, because of how well it serves the theme. Like, I love that so much and I had so much fun with it. But there are so many times where I was like, nah, I don't like this gimmick. I don't like this mechanic. Boy, this is some bullshit. Or it's like, man, I don't know about this one, Chief. Like, I did it, but yickety yikes. But I mean, like, it's for sure a 4.5 at worst. I feel like with my personal enjoyment of playing it, I cannot give it a perfect score, but I could give it the thing right below it. To me, that feels fair, that feels accurate, but absolutely love it. Now we move on to the narrative. The actual story of Celeste is very simple. Madeline is a young adult woman who's gone through some undisclosed shit and deals with a lot of personal mental health issues. And she wants to climb Celeste Mountain. She doesn't really know why. as she's kind of saying throughout the game, she's like, I don't know, like, I feel like I've never really accomplished anything, and so I want to, I guess, do something. It's like, well, why'd you pick this? Because it's there? I might as well. I wanted to do it because I know it's hard, and I wanted to, like, actually see if I could. And there's a few people she meets along the way. There's an old lady who lives at the base of the mountain who kind of makes fun of her. There's this dude named Theo that she encounters a few times. They have a few like fireside chats. He's just a pretty cool guy. Hi, Bahamut. He's just like a pretty cool guy. There's Mr. Oshiro, who runs the resort, who's also a ghost, who's kind of dealing with his own problems. And Madeline's like, I don't really want to be here with this guy, but I also just want to see if I can help him, and I don't know, just be a nice person, be a good person, see if I can. And then there is her other self, which the game never refers to her as such, but her official name is Badeline, which I love. If I'm being honest, I kind of love it. But in game, she is always referred to as part of me or part of you and things like that because she literally comes from a mirror. And she is Madeline's doppelganger. She is her shadow, the true self. Because I love me some Persona 4. And is constantly trying to convince her that you cannot do this. You will not succeed in climbing the mountain. Why are you even here? This is a waste of your time. Let's just go home. I'm trying to protect you from yourself. And there's a point where they get really close, and Madeline talks to Badeline. She's like, I know what you are. You're all those kind of negative parts of myself, and I'm ready to let that go. I don't need you anymore. And Badeline freaks out and essentially drags Madeline down, because they're about to hit the summit, and then just drags her all the way down to the base of the mountain. And there's a line I really like where they're talking, and Madeline's like, well, we're at the bottom. We can't really go any further than this. And I think Badeline says, no, I can keep digging. There is no rock bottom. Now, that part she doesn't say, but it's like, there is no rock bottom with us. There is always deeper. More ways we can sink, more ways that we can hurt. And it leads to a boss fight, which I didn't talk about in the gameplay, but I actually really like the boss fight a lot. And, you do the boss fight, and it's not like I've beaten myself, now, you're destroyed and I can do this. It's... They combine. They start working together, and they climb back up the mountain. And they get to the top, enjoy the view, climb back down, and make a strawberry pie. That's the story. That's the narrative. It's, in terms of the actual plot and the stuff that happens, it's very simple. In terms of its characters, there's not a whole lot, and it's really just the Badeline show. Not to say that everyone else is, terrible or anything, they have their moments. Excuse me, but this is the core character conflict. It's really personal for me. This is just the themes of this game. Anxiety, depression. There's a line where Madeline is talking to and I think he asks her, what is it like going through depression? And I believe what she says is, I don't remember exactly what it is, because I think she talks about drowning in a sea and whatnot. But then there's a line that she has, which is I feel like I'm on the edge of just breaking down and just I'm cracking. And if I take one wrong move, I'm going to shatter. But I can't tell anybody that because I don't want people to know I'm in that place. I don't want people to worry about me. There are some people who know that I'm anxious and I'm depressed and I have these panic attacks, but they don't really know the extent or just how close I am to breaking. And it's really nice to get that off my chest. It hits me in a really personal area. One of the big themes is that a person's greatest enemy is themselves, and how you will always be your own worst critic, unless you are just a narcissist. But the best counter to that is not to ignore those parts of yourself. It is not to outrun your own reflection, because as the game literally tells you, you cannot outrun your reflection. Like, no matter how hard you run, you cannot, or no matter how fast you run, you cannot outrun your reflection. But those are still parts to be embraced in some capacity. That self-love is the healthiest thing you can do. And it's very true, and it's very beautiful and very touching. I'm just kind of rambling now. Let me actually look at my notes. That's basically it, without talking about specific scenes. I guess one other thing is how there is nothing wrong with helping other people. And there is nothing wrong with relying on other people to help you. But don't make other people a project. Because I think the battle line literally says, it's like, don't make Mr. Oshiro your project. Like this guy's kind of an ass. He doesn't deserve your help. And if you want to help him, then that's your loss. But don't treat him like that. And I really like that. Like, there's a lot of just nuggets here and there that I'm like, man, I love that. Man, I love that. Man, I love that. The feather scene, when she's trying to breathe, and Theo's like, all right, just, here's a trick my grandpa taught me. Close your eyes. Think of a feather. Your breathing is the only thing that keeps that feather afloat. And you actually get to play it where, like, there's this little box that's going up and down, and a feather that's going up and down, and you're trying to keep the feather just within the box. And it's so calming and relaxing, and I love it. Where's some other scenes I have on here? Just, basically any scene with Battleline, it's kind of true. I really like them. They, like, really hit me hard. The scene when Madeline is at the payphone, and she gets a call from her ex. I think it's supposed to be her ex. I don't remember if they've actually said that. And then they're kind of talking for a bit, and she's like, wait a second. This conversation isn't real, is it? No, sweetheart. I haven't talked to you in months. Why would I start now? I remember that broke my heart the first time I played the game. I'm like, that's so fucking sad. You poor girl. You poor woman. You don't deserve this. And just the summit. Just once you get there, you get to that screen of the two of them. I guess it's kind of a presentation thing. I really like a lot of just the pictures throughout the game. Like the one of Madeline carrying Theo on her back is one of my favorites. But just image of her on the top of the mountain overlooking the view. And it's there for as long as you want it to be. It won't just be like, all right, here it is for a couple seconds. Go. Hit it. Like, it just kind of disappears. It's like, no. It's, you take in this view as long as you need. Because you earned it. You got to the top. Just relax and exhale. It's a 6 out of 6 narrative. And it's like, in terms of the actual plot, I think it's fine. In terms of the other characters, like, it's fine. Like, it's all solid. But what elevates it is, I think the themes are fantastic. I think they're handled incredibly well. And they're very, very personal for me. The fact that she's so close to climbing that mountain, and she falls all the way to the bottom. And despite that, and she's so close to giving up, and it's almost kind of out of spite that she doesn't. But she still doesn't. And it's what really leads her to confronting herself, accepting those parts of herself, and attaining that self-love. Yeah, it's kind of like in Scott Pilgrim. Scott attained the power of self-respect. That's kind of what happens. And I love that. Like, it is, yes, sometimes you fall. You don't always climb the mountain on the first try. But you learn a lot about yourself when you fall. Do you give up? Do you keep going? Do you get stronger? Sometimes you need to fall to be able to succeed, as crazy as that sounds, as kind of fucked up as that sounds. This is not a happy game. I would not say it's particularly comforting. I don't think I would call it pleasant. But for me, it is very, very cathartic. I know they're working on another game. I believe it's called Earthblade. I think it's coming out next year, 2024. Currently, it is my most anticipated game of 2024. I don't know a whole lot else that's coming out. Definitely, if a new Pokemon game is coming out, it's going to be up there. If Danganronpa 4 comes out, that would be crazy. If Persona 6, Trails games. I don't know if Kuro 3 is this year, if that's 2024. I don't know when I'd even be able to get to play. Like, et cetera, et cetera. Of course. There's a lot of series that I just adore, and if it gets into the game, I'm going to be really hyped. But the fact that this team is making another game, I cannot wait to play it. Now, I know it is not Celeste 2. I believe I actually read something the other day where the creator had said, yeah, we're not going to make a Celeste 2. I don't want to make Celeste 2. I don't want to be in the place I was when I made Celeste 1. I know there is DLC and we have access to it, which is kind of has some like extra story bits. And I don't know how much I want to play it. I know it's there, and I'm considering it. But for me, I feel like my climb is done once I hit the top of the mountain. And then maybe like, all right, like, let me pick it up. Let me see if I can get some of, like, let me try the B-sides. Let me maybe try to get some of those strawberries I missed. Like, that sounds fun to me. Like an occasional hike for a bit. But I feel like my climb is done. But I don't know, if I talk to Clay about it and he's like, alright, like, do you want to keep playing the game? I'm not gonna say no. So, that's Celeste. That's 6, and 4.5. So that's a 16.5 out of 15. Which, if you're keeping score, ties it with Trails of the Sky SC, because these are 2 of my 3 favorite games of all time. And for different reasons, for very different reasons. I think Sky has a better overall story. Celeste, like, with just all the stuff that happens, like, I love the plot. I love, like, all the characters, all the shit they go through. But Celeste is a more personal story. And I have to give it its love for that. Like, it is easily one of my favorite games of all time. It is, no question, my favorite indie game of all time, unless Atlas and Falcom are considered indie companies, which I don't think they are, but I don't know. I remember there was an indie sale on, like, PlayStation 5 the other day, and Cold Steel 4 was on it, and people were like, I guess Falcom's indie. But, yeah, that's Celeste. If you haven't played it, I urge you to do so. From my experience, at least, the climb is certainly worth your time.